Hello, everyone. I hope you had a good lunch and welcome. And I would like to welcome Radek Schmidt with how to explain Kubernetes to absolutely anyone. The stage is yours.
Thank you very much. So, hi, and welcome to my lecture on how to explain Kubernetes to absolutely anyone. Okay, who am I? I do DevOps at Cloudera, and basically I also studied at Matfis how to teach computer science. My master's thesis was about how to explain what is internet to kids. And today I'd like to talk about a few things that I think are a little bit of a problem in the CNCF world where we all live in, and that's how to explain Kubernetes. So today my lecture will be split into 4 parts. Why should we even do this? Why should we bother? What's the state of the art? And some possible approaches and my proposed solution. It's a draft. We can think about it. But I at least want to set a framework from the perspective of someone who did have some experience working with kids in elementary school or all sorts of ages. So firstly, why should we even do this? There's a big difference we must acknowledge first before we start talking about how to explain Kubernetes, because there are 2 different things. One is what is Kubernetes, and second one is how to explain Kubernetes. So I'm going to talk about the second thing today. I know that all of you are probably Kubernauts, CKAs, certified ninjas here. So my goal here is to bring it a little bit closer to you, how you can talk to other people about Kubernetes, about what we do, because I think it's important. And why do I think it's important? So there's a very, very nice joke here. There's an alien coming to our planet, and it speaks in another language, and it says, Kubernetes is a portable, extensive open source platform for managing containerized workloads and services that facilitates both declarative and configurative configuration. So to make this joke much better, this is actually the first sentence you see when you go to the Kubernetes documentation official start. Let's learn it from the very first beginnings. This is what you get. And we all know Kubernetes is notoriously hard to explain, but why do we need to explain it? And I think the value lies that management needs to understand. Not everybody in your office is so great as you are in understanding all of these abstraction layers. And most importantly, where the money is, right? The customer needs to understand what it is and what do we use it for, right? Because he might want to buy it, or he might not want to buy it, and that advice is very, very valuable. So to lighten up the mood a little bit, maybe you don't understand this, but people actually have problems, and people are actually struggling to understand Kubernetes when they get inside of all of this CNCF mumbo jumbo. There's even a lot of memes. I really like the one where the guy hangs himself before he gets on the complexity curve, you know. But those are just jokes, right? This is no rigorous research. So if you Google Kubernetes, if you literally Google the sentence, what is Kubernetes, what you're going to see is everybody from the public clouds also sees this problem, and they also are trying to understand it. So here's GCP, AWS, and Azure. They all have a big page with a big line that says, what is Kubernetes? And it's not just them. It's also Red Hat, IBM, Oracle. Everybody sees that people don't understand this, and that we should that we should try to explain it to them. So bringing it back to the original text I quoted, Kubernetes is a portable, extensible, open source platform, something. It's very easy to say complex words. And I want to say this because I think a lot of people in IT, a lot of my colleagues, me too, are suffering with this thing that they explain things with very, very fancy words. And I don't think this is particularly useful other than like flexing who knows more of these fancy words. I really think it's actually quite easy to say a lot of very complex, very fancy words to explain complex concepts. The go-to example I always use is, so if a child, if like a 5-year-old child asks you a question, why do things fall? Then you answer, it's gravity. But you just use the fancy word for like, things are falling down, right? The child asks the questions, why does it happen? And the approach that we solve it by making a really fancy word for it and using that word between each other or with other external people, this doesn't make things easier. So it's hard. It's really hard to understand Kubernetes, and it's even harder to explain it. That's why not many people do it, and that's why we have all of these fancy words that we use. So let's think about this like engineers, right? So what's the state of the art? As with any other problem, we first examine what are the solutions available to us. So basically, we have the platform for building platforms. You probably heard this thing from Kelsey Hightower, a bunch of KubeCons back, right? Which doesn't really help us when we don't know what Kubernetes is. We know it's a platform for building platforms, great, but what is it? What is it, right? Then we have the documentation, I quoted that. Then we have some blog posts from Big Tech, I also showed that. Then we have Udemy and YouTube. There's a lot of great resources, but they're all also very technical. I really liked the one from Mamshat Manambet. There's also Tech World with Nana. And there's also these IBM videos, but they're all very technical. Like you can even see in the video with the right down corner how he's writing all of this technical stuff. Then you have Reddit, where you can ask stuff, and then you have Phippy. Phippy, I guess you're familiar with it. It's an animated children's guide to Kubernetes. So anybody knows about anything else that I missed? Maybe I didn't do my research properly? Or are we in agreement that this is kind of like where the state of the art is? All right, I don't see any hands. Thank you very much. So I did my homework well. So Reddit, the best answer I could find is about 4 years old, which says Kubernetes is like a guy who takes your container, and if he's sick, he takes him out to the barn and shoots him and buys a new one. So I think this is a fairly good explanation of what Kubernetes does, right? But maybe if some of you in the audience don't know what a container is and can't really imagine how Kubernetes can like kill this container, then it might be a little too abstract. But sure, why not? I like this. This is a good explanation of what it does. Then we have a lot of these diagrams. Those are the favorite diagrams that are on the original documentation and stuff. And then we, of course, have Phippy. Phippy is a children's fairy tale trying to explain Kubernetes to you. Phippy is great. I love him. So let me just...
the illustrated children's guide to Kubernetes. Once upon a time, there was an app named Phippy, and she was a simple app. She was written in PHP and had just one page. She lived on a hosting provider, and she shared her environment with scary other apps that she didn't know and didn't care to associate with. She wished she had her own environment, just her and a web server she could call home. An app has an environment that
So you might see what the problem is I'm trying to explain here. So in the 30 seconds, at the start of this fairy tale, they use fancy words like web server or environment for the app or like PHP, you know? Not everybody knows this. This is not something that comes natural to people. So although I love Pepe, I think it's great. I think it tries to achieve a little bit too much, explaining what Kubernetes is. So the first thing, so let's talk about possible approaches here. So the first thing is, it's not for me. My brain cannot understand it. So this is a very, very common first thing you will encounter. You will talk to someone and you will tell them, and maybe you can also learn Kubernetes, and they're like, no, my brain is unable to do it. And my response to this would be, so like think 200 years back, you're at this aristocratic table and you're like debating your aristocratic friends. How much of population can learn to write? You know, like letters. This is a very complex thing, much more complex than Kubernetes. And maybe you'll agree that maybe like 20% of these peasants can learn to write, maybe 10%, maybe 50%. But the reality is, everyone can learn to write. We know it. We know this. So everybody can understand the abstraction behind Kubernetes. It's not that hard as writing, you know? The second thing I want to talk about when we discuss possible approaches. First, explaining what is Kubernetes is very different from explaining how Kubernetes works. We often drift inside of this very comfortable space where when people ask us, what is Kubernetes? We tell them, so there's this API server, and there's this scheduler, and they both run as static pods created by the kubelet, right? You get what I'm saying. They don't get what you're saying. So explaining what is Kubernetes is sometimes much, much more important than explaining how Kubernetes works. Where is the value in that, right? So to drive that point home, if you Google what is Kubernetes, the first thing you'll see is what is Kubernetes, and then you'll see what is Kubernetes used for, and then what you will see, it's like a story. What Kubernetes is used for in simple words. People go on this way, and they don't find it. They don't find it, what it's used for, because we don't tell them. So there's a bunch of stuff what we can do, right? We can tell them, so here you can see how these things are different. And we can sometimes use metaphors to do it, right? So there's a story I asked one of my friends in the company who's, and she's non-technical, and asked her, what is Kubernetes? And she's like, oh, I heard this very good explanation. It's about a kitchen. It had something with a kitchen in it. I remember it. Yeah. But you don't know what is Kubernetes, right? So there's a bunch of metaphors, I linked to them here, which show you how Kubernetes works inside on the metaphor of a kitchen, but this doesn't help people when they want to know what is Kubernetes. And the best part are these AI-generated pictures, which are sometimes wrong, and they don't make any sense, and they don't help anyone. I love it. So easy to create this slop. So, no, I'm sorry. I don't want to be rude to anybody who created this. So, we also need to explain it to them simply, but we must not lie. We cannot tell them that Kubernetes is something that it isn't. So, what can we do? We can talk about the utility of the product. So, let's say you want to explain what Kubernetes is used for, what's the utility of it, to your grandmother. You can use something like factories needed to operate, for monitoring, for making glasses or something like that. You can say that we make sure that the websites are always running, which is something tangible and something that has value inside. For other engineers, we could say it's a useful abstraction on top of hardware. You don't want engineers don't want to touch hardware. They just want to write code for it. So we use this abstraction. Good. Utility, right? We see the value behind it. For non-technical people, you can do similar things. One of my go-to things is to say Kubernetes is a system of automatic administrators. So administrators, usually they fix your app when something is wrong. So Kubernetes is an automatic administrator. It fixes apps automatically. And for a child, maybe you could say it's a way to connect 1,000 computers into one big supercomputer with so much power. So, but for the business people, what do we say? So maybe we can say it's a way to connect 1,000 computers into one big supercomputer that has all the power inside. And maybe we can give it our corporate credit card and it can rent out more computers if it needs to. And that way we can save money when we sell them back. This is a good way to explain them why Kubernetes is useful and where the value lies. But it also doesn't answer what is it inside? How does it, what is it actually, right? So then we can say Kubernetes is a fix for very important questions. So there's a lot of very important problems in IT, and we keep solving them again and again and again. And Kubernetes is really good at solving these big problems, like how do you get 999 availability? How do you deploy a new version safely? Kubernetes is an answer to this, and we can do this. How do you allow the app developer to choose the storage system, and they just get it, right? This is a very important question that that we have in IT, and Kubernetes is the answer to it. So that's one way to do it. And the last way I want to talk about is a similar abstraction to operating system, right? So Kubernetes is sometimes called operating system for the cloud. Again, fancy words. We're not sure what it means. But when you spell it out, it's actually like very, very one-to-one, right? So it's a one system that has multiple components running, and we just package it together and say, like, this is the system, right? We don't talk about, like, systemd or bash being too separated from, like, Linux. We, just as we can say, like, it's Kubernetes, and we don't need to think too much about, like, the type of scheduler we use and stuff. You can start apps on it, right? It doesn't matter that there's a sandboxing abstraction called containers, or there's a sandboxing abstraction called something else, right? We can run apps on it. The apps have to be written in some way, but we can do it. So you can read the rest of the stuff. The only difference is that it runs on much, much more computers. So what is my proposed solution? If I were to explain what Kubernetes is right now to someone, I would like to propose you guys a draft solution for this problem. I'm going to say something that is very, very simple, right? You need to start easy and then move to hard, start specific and then move to abstract. And this seems like of course it's like this, right? It's even a naive way, you know? Of course it's like this, but nobody does it. So, let's start with a cup of tea. Let's start with a cup. Please, Luboš, don't write me on Slack. Let's start with a cup of tea. So, if you want to have a cup of tea, you need three things. You need water, electricity, and tea. So in order to get into your house the water, there are thousands of people that maintain the infrastructure, the systems of pipes, the reservoirs. All of it is necessary to get you the water inside of your tap. Same thing with electricity. power plants need to work. Thousands of people every day take care of this problem. Same thing is with the roads on which the tea is driven to the supermarket. Thousands and thousands of people need to work every day to make this one cup of tea happen. So this is starting simple, starting from specific. So now we move to hard. Let's say you want to watch a YouTube video. You need the electricity. We already talked about this, right? But you also need internet. If you need internet, there are thousands of people, divers, who service the underwater cables. People who put the underground cables there and service them if something happens. People who maintain the crossroads. People who maintain the data center, right? Also something very specific. And you need YouTube to be working, right? You understand the problem that internet can be working, but YouTube can be down. So we can move from the specific thing into like abstracting it, right? So YouTube needs to be working. So that means YouTube's running somewhere. YouTube is an app. And YouTube as an app has two parts, right? The one on your phone, and then the one inside of the data center. That's where the big computers are. That's where it's running, right? So YouTube as an app has two parts. One somewhere on your computer, then there's the underwater cables, and then it's running somewhere else. It's an app running on somewhere else. In a big warehouse filled with computers. So, YouTube is big. YouTube cannot fit on one computer. Everybody can understand that, right? YouTube has millions of videos. YouTube definitely doesn't fit on one computer. So, there's a warehouse filled with the computers, there's data center. People need to care about it. And Kubernetes is a big app that's running on all of these computers and allows us to use them together. Kubernetes is the automatic administrator of many computers at the same time. So, here we have the data center, and instead of putting the YouTube app, second part, on the computer, the small computer over there, we put it here, inside of Kubernetes, because Kubernetes is running on multiple computers at the same time. And then someone can ask, and we answer with the app. Of course, this means the app needs to be written in a very specific way, but it's okay. People understand this. So, Kubernetes, now we can move to abstract and hard things, right? So it's a very clever system that can also do a little bit of 24/7 support for us. So if your app dies, it will restart it for you. So it makes sure the YouTube keeps running. Maybe someone experienced the CrowdStrike problems that happened because of one update going badly. We can say Kubernetes is helping to prevent this. Kubernetes can do like a canary and test it out on a very, very tiny amount of people if the update is breaking anything. And then if it isn't breaking anything, we can roll it out to more and more and more people. And we can move from data center to data center much more easily than we could before. Or at least that's the promise. So, getting back to our diagram here. Let's say our YouTube gets more people are using it. It needs to be bigger, the app. There's thousands of hours of video uploaded to YouTube. We need to make it bigger. So we're kind of afraid that YouTube's going to be too big for our Kubernetes. So we give Kubernetes our credit card. Everybody knows what a credit card is. We give it our credit card. And then Kubernetes can decide, oh, I will rent 2 more computers, and I will add them to me, and it will start growing. So that's how I think about Kubernetes. That's my draft proposal of how we can approach this problem from very, very simple steps, incremental steps to help other people understand what is it. But as with anything, you need to keep in mind, they must want to learn it first. If you just start explaining it to them, it's not going to be any good. So, thank you very much for your time. If you want any Q&A, we can do it. An app, that's the thing on your phone that you can tap it, and it's gonna do stuff, cool stuff, right? Yeah, yeah, all of it's an app. Thank you. Okay. Anybody else?
There is a question.
Yes?
You should try to write some Kubernetes essay as a remake of the famous iPencil story.
I don't know iPencil story. Can you elaborate? Okay, I'll Google it. Thank you. I'll Google what is iPencil story. Ah, how pencil is made. Okay, okay. Thank you very much.
Another question. Have you considered how to explain Kubernetes to detractors like some Linux admins?
So I think I kind of touched on this during the presentation with comparing it to an operating system. So if somebody's an experienced Linux admin, I think that the first thing you can tell them about Kubernetes, it's like an operating system running on top of it, and it tries to do your job. Sometimes very well, sometimes not.
I am really glad that we had this topic because I brought here my daughter, and it's maybe 6-7 years that I am trying to explain what I am working, and I'm not still sure she get it. Can you now tell us what you take from this?
Yes, I think I understand it now.
Explain.
Nice. So when?
Okay.
So please, when will you start contributing your first code to Kubernetes? That's more important. No. Thank you very much.
There's one more question. How can Kubernetes make your app alive when it dies?
It restarts it? No? It restarts pods. If there's like a, let's say, segmentation fault in your Go code, the Go code dies and it restarts the pod. I'm not trying to complicate this, guys.
Okay, any more questions from the audience?
Okay, thank you.